Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to be talking about Pizza Movie, an original comedy that's available on Hulu. But we've also got an On the Horizon segment. We're going to talk about what's coming up in the next week or so. And an On Beat segment, we're going to talk about 3 news stories and 3 trailers. Separate. 3 news stories, 3 trailers, not the same thing. Let's get started with our On the Horizon segment.
On the horizon.
On the Horizon, as I mentioned, is where we talk about what's coming up in the next week or so. And we're going to start things off with The Ghost in the Shell. So I guess the new, anime reboot rule is to add the before the title.
Yes.
We got the One Piece, and now we have The Ghost in the Shell. But this is a reboot of Ghost in the Shell, which is a huge anime series / movie / Scarlett Johansson butchering of the source material. But this is the reboot of the original anime that the movie was based on and kind of taking that story. And it's coming on Tuesday, July 7th to Amazon Prime. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is coming on Thursday, July 9th to PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. Granblue Fantasy Relink Endless Ragnarock is coming on Thursday, July 9th to PC, PS4, PS5, and Switch 2. Palworld exits early access on Friday, July 10th for PC, PS5, Xbox One, and Series X. Moana, the live-action version, hits theaters on Friday, July 10th, as does Evil Dead Burn, also hitting theaters on Friday, July 10th. That's it for our On the Horizon segment, and now we're going to move on to On Beat.
On Beat.
On Beat is our news segment. We got 3 stories today and 3 trailers to go over after those stories. We're going to start things off with maybe the weirdest story, which is that Netflix has a live-action Persona series in development. Yes, that Persona, the video game Persona. It's going to be run by Christopher Monfette, who did Star Trek Picard. Why?
Yeah, that's kind of like my reaction. It's
a series that's so hyper-stylized and has such a visual aesthetic that's very specifically like an anime aesthetic. And they're going to make a live-action series with an American showrunner, so a Western studio version of it.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I wonder what Persona they're going to go with. It's probably going to be Persona 5.
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
Yeah, that's the biggest one. I don't know. I can't even imagine it.
Yeah.
Joker's gonna look so goofy in live action.
I don't think any of them would work in live. It's so specific. Persona is so specific, and I can't see this working. I could see it working as an anime. I can't see it working as anything
it's
else.
Anime 100%. They did do anime Persona, but to me, part of Persona's identity is the art style. Atlas's
big
specific
time. That whole team style
yeah.
is based on that. They did Metaphor Refantasia.
Oh yeah. It's Atlas's house style. But to me, that is part of
the identity
Persona's
of the whole series.
Identity, yeah, its character. To translate that to live action, I don't know, it seems pointless to me. It's pointless to have a live action Persona series.
Yeah. You could craft an interesting story that basically follows the same beats, but it really wouldn't be Persona anymore at that point, you know? Why don't you just create a story about high school kids and some supernatural thing and then being linked to stand-like forces similar to JoJo or something, but then do it just in a completely Western way that's not at all having anything to do with Persona. But you attach the Persona name to it and there becomes this expectation of this very specific aesthetic that just would not work in live action. So, it's just a weird choice. But then again, I mean, the One Piece live action was absolutely insane, the prospect of even trying to do that. And they did that, and it's actually pretty good. I still don't think this is gonna work, though. Like, I guess trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. I can't.
I have to be fair. I have to be fair to it and say, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I guess.
I do have to give it a chance.
Yeah.
I'm not confident. I gotta be fair. I gotta give it a chance.
Our next news story is that Brazil's Ministry of Justice and Public Security, a frequent topic that comes up on this podcast, has named Metroid Ravenous in an internal document recently. So there you go.
This is most likely the next 2D Metroid. It's kind of crazy to think Dread came out in 2021, so I think we're around the time when a new 2D Metroid could be releasing, especially like if Nintendo wanted to keep up like a steady cadence of releases, with the franchise instead of just abandoning it for decades again.
The other crazy thing to think about is that this comes from a government ministry means that this comes from the rating board, getting a copy,
they've seen it.
The information, the material to rate it.
Which tells me
they got 40 minutes of footage of the game, apparently.
Which tells me, this could be announced soon. This could be announced.
Yeah, this tells me this is probably coming this year.
This isn't going to be this year. It's going to be next year for sure.
I could see this being
year
a
is
shadow
optimistic.
drop in the September Direct.
If they shadow drop a Metroid game, that'd be insane. That would
they
be
shadow dropped Metroid Prime Remastered.
Yeah, but that's a remaster of an existing game. This is like a whole new game. They're not going to shadow drop that.
It's Nintendo
insane.
And it's Metroid.
So you're saying they're just going to send it to die?
Pretty much.
For no reason.
Hopefully it doesn't die, but I think they pretty much would.
If they shadow dropped a new Metroid 2D game out of nowhere said it's available today, that shit is bombing hard.
I mean, I don't know. It might pick up if it looks good enough, if people are excited enough about it. But, I mean, stuff has shadow dropped and taken off, and been successful before. It's just, I can't see Nintendo doing that with a Zelda game. I can't see them doing it with a Mario game. But Metroid? Nintendo's kind of almost hostile towards that franchise. So I could kind of see them doing that.
Nintendo's hostile towards that franchise while funding new games.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, both are true, though. That's the thing.
I don't know. I think this is probably a game scheduled for next year. That sounds more likely. I think.
Then why would the ratings board have information and footage of the game over 6 months in advance?
I don't know. There is a whole process here where there's marketing considerations, there's timing considerations. Where they go slide in this year? Maybe December. Are you gonna follow up Zelda Ocarina of Time with, and here's this 2D Metroid game?
If it's Nintendo, yes. Like I said, Nintendo wouldn't do this stuff because it doesn't make sense makes me think it's more likely to happen.
I'm just being the voice of reason here. This is a game scheduled for probably early next year. Might even be Q1, between the period between January and March. Yeah, January. It could be like a January game for all we know.
This will probably be in the September Direct, though, I'm imagining.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. Yes, this is most likely going to be in the September Direct unless they do something again, Nintendo does crazy things sometimes where they announce it in a surprise direct that they drop at 6 p.m. at night like they did with Star Fox.
Or just like they did with Splatoon Raiders just on the Nintendo Today app.
Yeah, they could just show up on the Nintendo Today app. Yeah, they could do that. When they introduced the Nintendo Today app, they were very serious about people checking that app. People did not take it seriously. And Nintendo was like, no, we're serious. We're putting our news here.
I don't know, man. I think there's a very good chance this comes this year if it's at the rating board already. So
I will
don't
say
get rated that far in advance.
I will say there's a chance. There's a chance that anything could happen. I just on the likelihood, we got the next few months. Nintendo has a release happening every month going forward now. They got Rhythm Heaven and Splatoon Raiders this month. Next month is Wii Sports. September is Fire Emblem. October is something's happening in October.
Yeah, Metroid Ravenous.
Actually, I don't think they confirmed October, November, but November is 100% Zelda.
Yeah.
Zelda could slip to December, but I'm positive that's it. That's the November game.
The common logic that I think fans very well know is that the one game that can not go toe-to-toe in the sense of like selling the same, but like go toe-to-toe in the sense that it would not be hurt.
With mindshare, right?
Yeah, like it could release on the same day as Grand Theft Auto and it wouldn't hurt its sales at all.
Right.
Like that's
Also,
like probably the only game that could do that.
Also, they're not directly competing because
Yeah.
Zelda is going to be exclusive to a console that is not going to have Grand Theft Auto. So,
Or
you know,
will
like
it? There are leaks.
Well, I mean in November.
Probably not at launch, even if it does
in
happen.
November. Well, yeah. I don't think it will happen because the Take-Two CEO kind of like made comments saying that the Switch 2 isn't really an important platform for them and they don't consider it for like those kinds of games.
Meanwhile, every other business is falling apart except Nintendo.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Which we're going to get to. Our next story is going to be relevant to. But before that, there is some other stuff Metroid related. Once this story came out, there was a tweet by a leaker.
It was, yeah. There was a little twist to this story. I think Andy Robinson was the first that he heard there.
For VGC, right?
Yeah, VGC. Said he heard there are multiple Metroid games in development. I think he said, like, there's more than this. And according to rumor and speculation that I haven't personally verified, maybe this rumor comes from a trusted source. I don't know. I'm not going to say one way or the other, but the rumor is they're developing a Super Metroid remake. So maybe that's the other game he's referring to.
See, the thing is the reveal of Metroid Ravenous, which is, I mean, we don't know if Metroid Ravenous is even a 2D Metroid. We just assume it is because it seems far the most likely.
It would make the most sense because all the 3D Metroid games, unless Ravenous is like a code name for a Prime game, but like it's way too early to release another Prime game. You know,
I mean, it could be a completely different game, like a completely different studio, completely different thing. You know, a different attempt.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah,
I agree, though.
This could be Federation Force 2.
Yeah, I think most likely this is the same team that did Dread, Mercury Street.
Yeah, this is a sequel to Dread because there's been enough time between, like, Dread came out in 2021. So there's been enough time for that team to develop a new 2D Metroid game.
On the other hand, they have made another game since then that wasn't for Nintendo. They also, and you talked about the Super Metroid rumor, that was them that they were rumored to be doing that. So
this could, who knows? I mean, because we don't know, like, the assumption is Ravenous is the next 2D Metroid. That makes a lot of sense. And from
Mercury Steam,
It makes a lot of sense, like, the pieces fit, but it's kind of like, you don't know.
You're saying that you know the pieces fit.
Yeah, because I watched them fall away. Mildewed and smoldering.
The other possibilities, as far as like other Metroid stuff, not like what Metroid Ravenous is, but like other Metroid stuff that kind of falls into that possibility. There has been I wouldn't even say rumored so much as just expected remasters of Prime 2 and 3. It's not even really rumored. It's just expected. Fans have been expecting that. Like, well, they did 1, so they have to do 2 and 3. So there's no actual even
kind of like they have to do 2 and 3, but that's also kind of like, they have to port Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD, and it's
Nintendo hears that and goes, "What do we have to do?
We're in like year 5 of they have to port those to Switch."
Yeah.
So like I wouldn't necessarily count on there being remasters of Prime 2 and 3.
Yeah, it's weird because I hear some people talk about those games as being rumored, and I'm like, they were never rumored. There was never like a leak talking about them. It was just expected. Like fans expected it.
Yeah, exactly. Fans expected it because they did the first Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
But
because I mean, when the first Metroid Prime was rumored, some people were saying, "Oh, that's not going to happen. It's going to be Metroid Prime Trilogy HD." And then the first one came out, and they said, "Oh, okay, so they're going to do all 3 of them remastered." And then we never got 2 and 3, and they're like, "When is 2 and 3 coming?" They promised it, and it's like, no, they never did. But that's another possibility. The Super Metroid is a possibility. Prime 2 and 3 are a possibility. Another possibility
is a possibility. Metroid Prime Pinball 2 is a possibility.
Those are all possibilities. Another possibility.
Other M is a possibility.
Yeah. Another possibility is that we get a
HD remastered.
Another possibility is that we get a port of that remake of Metroid 2 that Mercury Steam also did.
Yeah.
Which again has been like another one that people have been saying, why didn't they bring this to Switch? They could do it as a cross-gen Switch and Switch 2 game.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
There's
They
lots
could
of
do that.
possibilities of what it could be. It could be a Mario Kart World, like, added content. It could be a map in Splatoon Raiders. I don't know. It's like there's so many things it could be, but who knows? And it's from a leaker, so it could also just be entirely bullshit. So
Yeah, exactly. We don't know until it's announced.
our last news story, besides our trailers we have this week, is that Sony is ending physical media for PlayStation by January 2028. Which, when they say by January 28th, that implies that they're going to start phasing it out. Like, they're not just going to go like, on January of 2028, that's it. No more physical. That day it stops. It means they're going to start phasing it out, probably starting relatively soon. Thoughts on Sony ending physical media for PlayStation?
Horrible. It's absolutely, I mean, this is a dark day. This is a dark day for gaming, for game preservation, for ownership.
We knew this was coming. We've known this is coming for,
Yeah,
I mean,
we knew this was coming. We knew this was coming because Sony telegraphed it, right? The very first sign of it was when Sony launched the PSP Go, which was a digital-only version of the PSP. And then they kind of like didn't do that again. You know, I don't think that sold very well. But then like starting with this generation, they launched the PS5. They launched in 2 SKUs. They launched with a disk drive built in and without a disk drive. At the time, that was head-turning, because it was like, oh, there's a digital-only version. And I don't think, like, people paid too much attention to it, or really, like, absorbed the meaning behind that, because, like, there was a version of the system with the disc, and there were physical discs coming out, and people could just, like, buy a game console with a physical disc drive and play physical media, so I think, like, people kind of, like, ignored it. And then, like, an even bigger signal was when Sony launched the PS5 Pro. The PS5 Pro does support discs, but it does not ship with a disk drive. It ships as a digital-only console. You can buy a disk drive attachment add-on for it, but it does not come with a disk drive.
mm-hmm.
And again, this isn't like previously where it's an extra SKU. This is supposed to be Sony's like
The
big
primary
boy.
SKU, yeah.
Yeah, this is the big boy. You know, you're the hardcore gamer. You're going to step up to this console. It does not come with a disk drive.
There have been reports that 80% of PlayStation sales have been digital.
Yeah.
A game comes out, 80% of the people who buy it bought it digital, not physical. So Sony themselves cited that this is like customer, like following the trends of customer behavior.
Right, this is like, well, and I mean, that's true. Like, digital is gaining popularity. Even Nintendo said, you know, more and more of their business is digital through the eShop.
And Nintendo's
physical.
probably the least in that direction.
Yeah.
Of all of them. You know, like, Nintendo fans are collectors, a lot of them.
Nintendo is still, like, publishing all their first-party games physical. There are game key cards. Game key cards have been controversial because they're not really physical. They're not physical
like
games.
Between a cart and a code in a box.
But
basically.
I will say, yes, I will say in defense of game key cards, it's not ideal, but
it's still resellable, tradable.
Yeah, you still got consumer rights attached to those game key cards. You could still sell it. You could still trade it. You could buy used game key cards and use them. There could be like a used market for game key cards. Yeah. And to be honest, the big concern is as long as the servers don't exist. As far as game key cards go, I'm actually not worried about that because it's using the same servers as like the download servers for the games, right? And to be honest, it's the entitlement servers.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I can't think of a single instance going all the way back to the Wii 20 years ago. If you still have your original Wii that you bought stuff off the Wii Shop channel, you can still re-download those purchases.
Yeah, you can't buy them, but you can download them.
Yeah, you can download them. So, I mean, the game key cards are going to work the same way. Like, even if a game's delisted off of the eShop, if you have the game key card, it's just going to ping the server like, oh, hey, they have this game, download it. And it's going to download. Yeah. So, like, I'm actually not worried about that because if anything, the industry has actually been really solid about that part of it.
Honestly, like, Sony's been the worst about it. They've, like, pulled movies off of their, from people's accounts and shit. You know?
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I'm glad, like, I never bought any movies through Sony or PlayStation. I'm glad I never did, because I'd be pissed if something I bought digitally was just yanked away. Like, Sony says, oh, licenses expired. Cool. Why does that involve me? Why did you not tell me this up front? I get that you have, in your terms of service, you have wording that says, oh, you're only buying a license and blah, blah, blah. We have the right to revoke your license at any time. Sure, but like, selling you something a digital license that you would have to pull away because of licensing agreements that you made on your end and not like really like disclosing that at the time of sale. That's shitty. That's scummy. I don't care what wording, what language you put in your EULA. That's scummy as hell.
I don't think Sony gets enough shit for that because I can tell you from experience, not with Sony, but my digital marketplace of choice was always like Google's, like the Play Store. And I've had services that I used from them, including I've mentioned on the podcast before that I used Stadia. I used Google Play Music, stuff like that. Those services ended. There's YouTube Music replaced Google Play Music, but you can't buy music anymore. But what they did is that they made all that shit available for you to download. So it's like, okay, you can just download your entire Google Play Music library. Everything you bought, you can download it. They also let you transfer it over as uploaded files to your YouTube Music. So even without a subscription to YouTube Music, you can listen to all of your music that you had on Google Play. So they did it kind of the right way. Like, it sucks that they shut down their service, but they kind of bent over backwards to make sure that people didn't lose their shit. And then the same thing happened with Stadia. Like, they weren't able to make it so you could keep your games and stuff. That just was not doable with the way that, like, how a cloud service works.
And
but they refunded.
But that was my main gripe with Stadia, and it turned out to be true, because good, they refunded you, but my fundamental issue was when that service ends, those games are gone.
Yeah.
And they were gone. Yeah, thankfully they didn't really have any exclusive games that you could get elsewhere, but if they had like
They did, but they were eventually ported.
Yeah, like if they did have like a special exclusive game that I purchased, and it's just gone, and they're like, sorry, here's your money back. Cool, I'm glad you gave me my money back, but that game's just freaking gone. I can't get that back no matter how much money you refund me. That's my fundamental issue.
I still think Google deserves credit for the way they shut down Stadia, though, because not only did they give refunds, but they gave refunds and they let you keep the hardware. And you think like, okay, well, but the hardware is useless now. No, because the hardware that you plug into your TV is a Chromecast. That still operates as a Chromecast.
Yeah.
The controller that came with it, they put a firmware patch so that you could just turn it into a PC controller.
Yeah, you could use it as a PC controller, which was good.
And they refunded you for it at the same time. Like, you didn't have to return it. So
they sunsetted it in the best way possible, but the problem for me was the idea was flawed from the get-go, and so it's kind of like,
my point though is that if you're looking at a digital market closing down, Google did it the best way you possibly could.
Right.
Sony isn't even closing down, and they're already doing it the worst way you possibly could.
Yeah, they're just saying like all games from 2028 for PlayStation consoles are going to be digital only, and January 2028 is an auspicious year. It's like, oh, okay, so we're in 2026, so they're saying all year next year there's still going to be physical games. It's going to be 2028, and people are speculating because that's the year the PS6 is going to drop, and the PS6 is going to drop as a digital-only console.
Oh, almost assuredly.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like,
why would they launch it as a console that has physical media if they're going to stop selling physical media, or like right after, or like right around, you know?
And it seems like they announced this now to kind of rip off the Band-Aids, so people are not talking about this when they announce the PS6.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't like some shock when they announce the system and then it dominates the conversation. They're getting this conversation out of the way so that they can focus on whatever, like, marketing selling points they want to focus on for the PS6.
So, besides the clues that were in the ether from Sony themselves, I think the biggest sign that all of this was going to end, not just related to PlayStation, but just period. The idea of physical media for gaming is, like, gonna be a dinosaur. And I think the biggest statement of that was that Steam launched in 2003. And by the time PlayStation ends all of this, it'll be almost 25 years since Steam launched and became like a massive success. So I honestly think I'm kind of surprised it lasted this long.
Right.
I'm surprised physical media lasted this long because it really doesn't make sense.
I think Sony wanted to do this for a long time. I think there were just logistical issues in a lot of the countries Sony is selling games and consoles in. Probably they have the internet infrastructure set up to download these large games all the time, and there's retail to consider. There's a lot of business considerations that go into this. And also, like, at the time, If you're talking about when Steam launched, digital game sales were not that big a part of the market. It was still like a nascent kind of thing. I think why now is because we've got to the point where they've normalized digital media to the point where, again, the metrics are showing that people are adopting it more than physical media. It's normalized now. So I think Sony feels comfortable in like, okay, now is the time.
Yeah. It's kind of like when Netflix finally got rid of DVDs by mail.
Yes.
But I think that, like, honestly, I don't care about physical media. I feel bad for the people that do and stuff. I've been gone digital a long time ago. I understand the concerns some people have for digital and the way things could go wrong, but also that kind of ignores the realities of things like disc rot, where go back and check your old PS2 games. Like some of them probably don't work anymore.
No, yeah. Nothing is forever. And it's it's naive to think that things are forever. Here's what I do want to confess here, that as far as PlayStation goes, I've been digital only for like a long time. Since during
this is your fault.
Yeah, this is my fault.
Entirely. Exclusively.
I only buy digital games on PlayStation.
Will the exclusive party to blame for this entire thing.
This is my fault, for sure. Yes. No, yeah, like I've been digital, like I bought the digital only SKU, the PS5 when it came, because it was $100 cheaper, and all my PS4, the vast majority of my PS4 library at that time was digital, so backwards compatibility concerns didn't really bother me. And my thing for that is, when I chose to do it, it was a choice. I chose to do this over buying physical games. And I think really my rub here is Sony is taking away the choice. I'm a big believer in giving people options. I don't think cloud gaming shouldn't be a thing. I think it should be a choice. I think people should have that option to be, okay, I want to stream my games over the cloud. That's fine. I don't think it should be like Stadia where it's like, well, this is the only option you have. You can only stream our games from the cloud. We're not going to give you any other options. I think, no, just have it as an option. And I think like physical and digital should coexist as options for a consumer. I think the consumer wins when we have choices in how we want to buy media or how we want to buy our entertainment. I think we win when we have choices.
Well, physical's gonna be dead.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think, you know what I think Nintendo should do, and Nintendo is uniquely positioned to do? I think they should turn amiibos into key cards. So when Nintendo stops having physical media, you could just get an amiibo and that comes with the game.
You get the Mario video game amiibo.
Yeah, and you scan the amiibo and it works like a key card. And I've thought this out. So what it would
Mario
do
says,
is,
let's go!
Yeah, I've thought this through. The way it works is you scan the amiibo and it does the download the same way the key card does. But it redeems it the same way like a code in the box would. But you can also have the choice to like unredeem it, in which case that code goes back. The code goes back to the amiibo, basically. So that way you could sell it again if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then, because I think 90% of the people that really care about physical, they just want their gaming shelf to look pretty with all their games on it on display. And I'm like, well, that would be even better because the amiibos are like, they're figurines, you know? So it's like you actually have something that's better than just like the side of a box behind you in your YouTube video. You actually have these figures that represent your games. So I think Nintendo should do that. If they did that, I think the pill would be much less bitter. And Nintendo seems to actually like selling little kitschy shit anyways, you know?
I don't know about all that, but I say, here's the thing about losing physical media. I know, like, you've heard this like 100 times, but you're losing consumer rights. You are losing your ability to lend the game, your ability to trade the game for another game, the ability to resell, to get some of your money back for your purchase. There's the issue of refunds. All these rights that you can do with physical media, like, those are all gone. And then there's the other concern.
I think that's largely an illusion now anyways.
And then there's the other concern about the PSN store basically being a monopoly. Basically being, okay, Sony is now the sole arbiter of the price of their games, because the only place you can get a PlayStation game is through PlayStation's store, online digital store on their console.
That's not necessarily a dead end, though, because there are online marketplaces that do sell codes for other stores. So, like, that, there is a possibility. Like, Sony would have to agree to that possibility.
Yeah, they'd have to be authorized by Sony.
Yeah, but I mean, look at stuff like, I don't even know if it's still like this because I haven't used it in ages, but like Humble Bundle. I've bought Humble Bundles before for really cheap. You buy a Humble Bundle, you get like 6, 8 games, whatever, and I've bought them before through Humble Bundle. Oftentimes what you get is a Steam key, and you put in the key and you get the game on Steam. Or to another store. Sometimes they give you the option of like, oh, you can get a Steam key or an Epic Game key, whatever. I don't know how Humble works now, if it still does the same thing, but that is a thing. That's a possibility. The idea of you can't rent or trade or sell games or whatever, keycards kind of solves that problem. So
yeah,
I kind of think like there are other solutions.
Sony isn't
it's just
offering
the problem is, that the problem isn't
game key cards.
The problem isn't that the lack of physical inherently stops these activities from occurring. The problem is that Sony has more power to stop those activities from happening. But if Sony decided to, all those activities could continue, even without physical.
But what incentive do they have? And here is
fan
like
demand
the
and
comparison.
outrage.
Here's the comparison. If I look up God of War Ragnarok, this game came out for the PS4 years ago. There's a PS5 version. If I look it up, say PS5 on Amazon, you can currently get it physical $32.70 right now on Amazon, free Prime delivery. If I look it up for PS5 on the PSN store right now, it's $70. Yeah. That is a huge price difference that you're paying for physical versus digital.
But I mean, you could look at the same thing, and
that
Steam is the golden example. Steam is like is like the gold standard example. It's like what companies should do, but a lot of them probably won't. But Steam's like the perfect example. Like you can routinely get games for like $5 on Steam.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Oh yeah, because Steam is like very good at this kind of stuff. Here's the difference between Steam, the major difference between Steam and something like the PSN store. Steam is on Windows. Windows is an open platform. There are multiple PC game retailers on the PC platform. There's the Epic Game Store. There's GOG. There's other retailers.
But come on,
it's not
Steam
just
is still the monopoly.
Steam is the most popular, but my point is it's not a monopoly on
it's
on
virtually
PC.
It's a monopoly in the same way that Android was accused of being a monopoly, you know? Because Google could say, well, you can only use Google services if you have an Android that's authorized through Android, so you couldn't do that with like a Fire phone from Amazon or something.
Right. I don't think you're quite getting my point.
I'm getting it, but my where I'm arguing against it is like Epic Game Store, GOG, these other stores, they're so minimal, they're so tiny that they might as well not exist. Like it just doesn't matter.
I get that, but that's not really the point I'm driving at. The point I'm driving at here is that they exist. There is competition, even if Steam is vastly preferred. There's no such thing as competition to the PSN store on the PlayStation platform. There's no Epic Games Store on the PlayStation console.
On PlayStation, yes, but that's not true with other competing consoles.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about if you want PlayStation games.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to say that it's not so cut and dry, because you could just choose to not fucking get a PlayStation and to go with like Xbox instead.
If you choose to buy a PlayStation, you want PlayStation games. That's my point, is like you have to get them through Sony now. Whereas as like right now with like the physical games that like you can get your games through Amazon, and Amazon is going to offer them a lot cheaper. You know, that exists. Mm-hmm. That does not exist once these physical games go away. That's my point.
But the point of competition is to like encourage competitive rates and stuff like that. And you can't just look at it and go like, well, on a PlayStation, there's no competition, so that's that. Because you have to acknowledge that there are competing consoles, and then there's also the entire PC marketplace, and that will encourage competition. Now, how much Sony gives into that and makes use of that, that's, again, up to Sony. But all the console makers, all the ones that have it, they have sales on their own games. They have sales on stuff like that. So that all exists. It's up to like fans to decide they're not going to fucking buy a PlayStation for Sony to go, ooh, we need to kind of sweeten the pot now. We need to be a little bit more consumer friendly. And the power still rests with the fans, because most of those games you could still just play by getting a different system. If Sony's not treating you right, you can go a different route, including PC, where you have a very open system, like you said. So I think the issue is less about the disappearance of physical media and more about the monopolistic tactics of the companies that are making the platforms you buy. And you can look at it and say like, oh, but one leads to the other. And it's like, yeah, sure. But let's put the blame where the blame belongs. Let's put the blame on the company. And if they're not doing it right, then don't fucking buy their systems. And guess what? Eventually they're going to either do it right or they're going to be gone.
Right. That's fair. Yeah. I get your point. Yeah. You don't have to buy a PlayStation.
Yeah.
But if you do buy a PlayStation, you're at Sony's mercy.
And honestly, I think most people should stop buying a PlayStation because it's not just this. Like we mentioned other stories, Sony is doing some pretty heinous business activities, some pretty anti-consumer business activities. And the way to fight against that is to not buy their products. I'm not even advocating a boycott, like saying boycott this game to make a point or something. I'm just saying if you look at Sony's business practices and they give you pause, then maybe they should give you pause, and that should be what you decide to do based on that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's sad. This also affects preservation of games, obviously. A lot of games preservation comes from physical media of people dumping the contents of a game disc or whatever.
That could still be done.
Everything's
using universal formats. The PlayStation 6 is going to have like a USB connection. You're going to be able to hack into that, and it's going to use universal hard drive formats or SSD formats. You're going to be able to people are still going to be able to rip that shit.
Right. Well, it depends on how easy or hard it is to hack. But it's just, there's that consideration. It sure makes it a lot harder. I will say that. Sure makes it a lot more difficult. So like there's that. There's a lot of effects. There's a lot of small boutique retailers that are going to be affected by this. Retailers that depend on selling physical media are going to be affected.
They're pretty much out of luck anyways. Like we said, it was already down to like 20% of games selling. And you know that like of that 20%, 99.9% of that is just Amazon.
Yeah, like I expected it. I expected this to happen eventually, but it doesn't make it less shitty.
Yeah,
to me.
I agree with that. What I mean by everything I'm saying is that a lot of what people are like mourning that they've lost, what you've had has basically been an illusion for like a really long time already. For the most part, it's been an illusion. It's the illusion of ownership when you have the discs. It's always been sketchy gray area. It's never been like black and white. Oh, I own this. This works perfectly fine. I can just connect this without any internet access. I don't need anything like that. It's like, no, because every game pretty much has a day one patch now. They really won't function properly unless you do that. I think we've been in this state of where any kind of consumer power we thought we had from physical has basically been an illusion for like a decade. But this is just like, it's out in the open now. Your neighbor's been dead for years, but you just didn't see his body yet.
Yeah, and it won't be long before Xbox is going to follow suit pretty quickly. I think Nintendo is going to be the last holdout. I don't know, like, for how long that's going to last.
Like I said, Nintendo likes tchotchkes. Like, they like putting out little, garbage shit. They want their fans to buy a bunch of weird trinkets and stuff. That's why I said, like, it might make sense for them to do, like, game cards as, like, amiibo.
Right,
I could see that being, like, a source of success for them. Nintendo kind of likes that. They kind of like that market, that business. So, yeah, I don't see them going in a really fully digital path. I think it's going to kind of lean more in that direction. I think keycards is a sign of the future for the way Nintendo's going to do things. But I think it's still going to be there's still going to be some kind of physical presence just because Nintendo actually likes that and their fan base is like really into it. So.
Right. That's all I have to say about this topic though. Yeah.
You were showing your neighbor's dead body, basically, I think.
Yeah.
Let's move on to trailers. We've got 3 we're covering. Our first trailer up is The Samurai and the Prisoner. This is the new movie from Kiyoshi Kurosawa. Not that Kurosawa. That would be Akira Kurosawa that you're probably thinking of. This is not Akira Kurosawa. He's been dead for ages. But this is Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who's kind of known. I heard somebody explain him, and it sounds like really accurate, I guess, as like David Cronenberg is to body horror, Kiyoshi Kurosawa is to like psychological horror.
Right.
So that's kind of the reputation he has as a director. And we got the trailer for his next movie, which oddly enough very much looks like a Kurosawa as in the other Kurosawa type movie.
Right. Like you said, this is a psychological thriller. This is a murder mystery thriller, but it's set in like feudal Japan,
Yeah, based on a real story having to do with like a retainer of Oda Nobunaga who kind of like turns against him and is basically facing death, and he's locked down his castle, and yet somebody still manages to die in his lockdown castle and he doesn't know how.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it looks great.
Looks
it looks
gripping.
fascinating. It looks like just a really good movie.
Yeah, that trailer went a long way towards selling me on that movie. I was like, oh, okay, I'll watch this.
Our next trailer, we finally got our first trailer for Werewolf, spelled with a W, or spelled with a U, I mean, after in Wolf.
I hope Werewolf spelled with a W. I can't imagine what else you'd spell it with.
Well, if it's like The Witch, the movie that Eggers also did, that was spelled with two V's.
Oh, true.
Vivitch. Vivitch. This would be
Werewolf.
This would be Vavervavolf.
Yeah, the Vavervavolf.
Well, anyways, we got our first trailer for Werewolf. This is the next movie from Robert Eggers, who did Nosferatu most recently, also did like The Lighthouse, as I mentioned, The Vivitch, The Northman as well. This is his next movie. He's collaborating with the writer that worked with him on The Northman. And yeah, Robert Eggers is known for his like lore accuracy, you know, like really focused on lore accuracy. And
this is a dirty, really grimy film, right? This is like
visually stunning.
Yeah, visually stunning, of course, like as all of Eggers' films tend to be.
Yeah.
That's not a surprise, but yeah, this is like very grungy looking film though.
Yeah. There's a specific look. I remember when this movie was first announced, it was, I think his cinematographer, Robert Eggers' cinematographer was talking about the fact that they had come up with like a new process for filming. Robert Eggers still films on film, by the way. He doesn't go digital. He's one of the few directors that's like all on with like physical media with filming to tie it into an earlier topic. He's really into like shooting on film. And I think they might have done something where they used like a split image sensor that uses like both like an infrared filter and also like a regular filter, so that you kind of have that like weird high contrast dark look that you get with like night vision type footage, but it's like corrected to look more like normal at the same time, which gives it this like hyper realistic, like you said, grungy in this way that almost seems impossible because it's like so high contrast and yet it's also very dark. Like it's very like this movie was lit by torches type aesthetic, you know? And yet there's still all this detail and the grain and grit in the faces of the people and stuff. And so I think they must have done something like that, like used a split lens with like an IR camera as part of the structure. But it has a really interesting look to it because of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's also oddly enough shot in 4:3, which I'm not too terribly fond of, but hey, it'll look good in IMAX at least, which is also a 4:3 format. But yeah, it looks really cool. It's Robert Eggers. I was sold on this the second I heard that Robert Eggers had another movie coming out. And it's also launching the same way Nosferatu did on Christmas Day. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it looks really good. Looks like a really good time.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, we finally got our I guess it's called the second teaser. So it's not even really an actual trailer, but it's the real teaser for Cyberpunk Edgerunners 2. We had a previous one. It was like so short. You could like basically see a few character designs and that was it. You had no idea what was going on. Now we got like an actual kind of teaser trailer type thing where we kind of see some of the action and see like what's kind of going on and stuff. And
yeah, we get glimpses of what's going on. I still don't know the plot or exactly what's happening, but there's a lot of action. It looks like Cyberpunk Edgerunners. It looks like it's got appealing character designs. It looks like it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I loved Edgerunners so much, so I'm so excited for this as a sequel series, and I'm so glad that they didn't try to pick up with the old characters again, because that story was done, and I'm glad that they're not, like, stepping on the legacy of it, you know?
Yeah,
it's really
exactly.
interesting, because I think Edgerunners is honestly, like, it's not even an adaptation of a game, because it's just kind of set in the same world as the game, basically. In the same city as the game. And I think it did that so well, like better than any other video game adaptation or anything I've ever seen. I think they did such a good job of making it really feel like, and it's set in the same city. It's set in Night City. And if you've played the game and you've watched Edgerunners, like you'll be like seeing a scene and you're like, oh, I know exactly where that is. That's like down the street from that one, like rundown suburb area, like right outside of this, you know, like you know where everything is. There's this sense of place within the city. And I think it's really cool that they could just continue to iterate on that and make like new shows. And like Edgerunners 2, it's a new show. It's an entirely new cast of characters, same city, and it's going to have that same feeling of like, oh, I know this place and I know this place and this is what's happening there now. Because the first season of Edgerunners took place before Cyberpunk 2077, like right before, I think, like a few weeks before or something. And I'm imagining Edgerunners 2 is going to take place after. And I like that. It's making Night City, the setting of Cyberpunk, into like more of a living thing past that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's really cool. Like, and I loved Edge Runners season 1. So, like, I'm really looking forward to season 2.
Yeah, not too far away either. It's
Yeah.
exciting. But that is it for our On Beat segment. And now we're going to move on to our final segment, full spoilers. Last week on Full Spoilers, we talked about Never Change, which was a comedy movie that we saw the trailer for and thought, man, this looks great. And then we watched it.
It was not great. But, I mean, you get all that in last week's podcast.
Yep. But this week, we're talking about Pizza Movie. Same streaming service. Same idea that it's an original movie to that streaming service.
Same idea that we liked the trailer.
Gonzo comedy, in a sense.
Same idea that we liked the trailer and thought this might be a fun movie.
So what did you think of this movie?
Oh, I loved it. It was great.
I think it was
great.
A lot better than Never Change.
It was a lot. It reminded me a lot of classic 80s and 90s comedies. You know, it had like a lot of those elements to it.
Like stoner comedies, like
yeah.
not necessarily stoner, like drug comedies, you know, like hallucination comedies and stuff.
But like it was really creative, really inventful. It had fun protagonists, like you related to the protagonists. And of course, everything was well written. Everything like flowed together and it wasn't like all disjointed.
Yeah, when something would happen and you could tell they're setting up a thread for like a running joke or something, they wouldn't just abandon it. Like Never Change did.
Right,
they like
yeah, exactly.
would follow up on it. Like you would have confidence when you're watching it, like, oh, okay, yeah, this is going to be followed up on, and it would be.
Yeah, everything is followed up on. Everything has a punchline, a conclusion to it. There's a payoff for like everything that they introduce.
Yeah.
You know, and it makes sense. And there's some like really like clever and fun jokes in this. There's a bit of meta humor at the end of it, which I thought was funny. Yeah,
that was really good. But they actually brought in the actual writing and directing pair that made the movie played themselves.
Yeah.
As the writers of the movie.
As the writers of the movie, yeah. Which I thought was like really funny.
And they even called back that scene after it happened by having like this old guy suddenly show up in their door.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, oh, that was the guy was talking about putting his uncle in the movie or something. And it was like a funny addition.
And it was funny. It's like, this isn't working.
Yeah. And then he just pops out of existence. Yeah. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So if you don't know, like, Pizza Movie, the log line was very simple. The log line was 2 friends in college order a pizza and then go on a perilous journey downstairs to get the pizza as they are high on drugs. You know, that was like
White
the
Castle
log
pizza.
line.
I mean,
It ends up being a little more complicated than that. Like that log line, that's a basic log line.
Yeah, in the vein of like Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. Like they just want to go to White Castle, but they get caught up in all sorts of shit.
They get caught up in like all sorts of adventures, you know, as like they're trying to get to their destination. And it's funny too because they're high on this experimental homemade drug that somebody who previously like lived in their
drug,
room.
By the way.
Yeah, who previously like lived in their room made and just ends up in their hands. And apparently it's got like 6 phases. I can't go through like all 6 immediately, but the most significant ones are there's a phase where they can't swear, and there's a phase where they have to tell the truth. There's a phase
where they swap places.
There's a phase at the end, the worst phase, where like their worst nightmare comes to life and chainsaws them up the ass.
Yeah, my favorite phase is where they become one, or actually one.
Oh yeah, where they become one. Yeah. And the creativity of the movie and like the jokes come into like how these phases manifest. To me, like my favorite one, the one that happens pretty early into the movie and they don't top, in my opinion, is the phase where they can't swear because it ends up manifesting as if they swear their heads explode.
Yeah.
And then they reset like it's Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a Groundhog's Day phase with head explosions.
Yeah. That one's pretty funny. What I think I really liked about the way they handled this, though, and it plays a part in almost every phase, I think, is that things almost take like this weird supernatural turn with like the effects of the drug. Most notably, there's a part where they have flashbacks and they literally change the past.
Yeah, they literally like go into like their past and change it.
Yeah.
Which is like hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously the whole Groundhog's Day thing, like that was also kind of like had a supernatural edge to it as well, obviously. The Juan thing, I think, was hilarious. That we're all Juan.
Oh yeah, the whole thing, like, and the one thing again, that's a callback because the first phase is again, it's like the most weird one, and I think they just did this for like impact to like have something weird at the beginning of the movie because it's the first one where they have to entertain this baby or something, and their hands turn into their heads singing. There's like a Pinocchio like guy, and the baby is being held by like a guy named Juan, you know, and it's kind of like, oh, they have to please the baby. That's the first phase. So they go through like that sequence multiple times until the baby's happy. And then that comes back, we are all Juan. And it's like Juan comes back for that one.
Yeah. I mentioned Harold and Kumar before. There's another very like Harold and Kumar part, which is the pizza delivery robot, the Snackathon 3000.
Yes.
Have you watched all of the Harold and Kumar movies?
No,
have
I
you
just
watched the 3D
first
one,
two.
the Christmas one?
I just watched the first two. The one where they go to Guantanamo. I watched the first one, and then like the one where they go to Guantanamo. I thought the Guantanamo one was pretty stupid. So I was like,
they get less good as they go, but I think they're still like have their moments, you know?
Yeah.
But the third movie had this waffle machine or something. It was like a robot that made waffles.
Mm-hmm.
And that like very much reminded me of like the Snackathon 3000. Like
it's
the
interesting
personality of the robot and stuff.
The Snackatron 3000 thing, that's a funny joke. It's a funny running gag, but it's also a workaround to like a very obvious logic thing because they know they're high. They know they're going to struggle to be out there high on these drugs. So they're kind of like, you know, can you bring the pizza up to our room? And the delivery person is this robot with wheels who can't climb the stairs. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a really clever workaround to be like, to stop, oh, well, why can't they just request it be directly delivered to the room? Why do they gotta go downstairs? You gotta be pedantic. It's like, okay, well, we answered that question with a robot. And now this robot is gonna be a joke, and it's gonna be a running gag through the entire movie, and it's really clever.
Yeah, and it doesn't just stick on there. Like, the robot actually has a personality.
Yes.
And
yes.
The robot is a funny character in the movie, and they do so many good jokes with it. I mean, even just at the beginning when the robot first arrived and it was talking to the guy at the front desk of the dorm or whatever, and it kept recording him.
Oh, no, it's like the owner of the pizza restaurant recorded the name of the pizza restaurant or whatever for that. But it's funny because he goes through, like, apparently the robot, like, prompted him to record multiple times, and he can see, like, each time, like, it plays back the recording from the restaurant owner. It's like the guy's, like, more exasperated, like, I have to record again? That's another, like, little running gag with the delivery robot,
They took something that was kind of like a throwaway MacGuffin and turned it into a character with depth and personality and a sense of humor with its own running gags that go through it.
And that's what makes this work, because nothing they introduce is, like, wasted.
Yeah, everything's fully realized.
Yeah, everything's fully realized. There is, like, the main antagonistic force in this is, like, there's this whole storyline with this evil RA leading a team of RAs. Basically, his goal is to just find a reason to confiscate people's phones and then have them sent to this dorm house that's, like, apparently the worst place in the world. They describe it as, like...
it's, like, 4 hours away, or something.
Yeah, it's 4 hours away. They describe it like a dungeon that nobody returns from or something.
Remember the memorial? Like, it was somebody that died?
The memorial, like somebody
it was like died. A widow mourning a person that died, but it was just because her fuck buddy was, like, 4 hours away.
yeah, because her fuck buddy was 4 hours away. Yeah. And it's like the protagonist, they mention it multiple times. They mention it's a place they don't want to go. So, like, the evil main antagonist RA, that's his entire evil plan, is to get all these kids that he believes are chaotic delinquents sent there. That's his whole thing. So there's that antagonistic force. And then within the RAs, there's this character, there's like this 30-year-old he's just happy to be there and meeting people. And he's like constantly
Sydney.
like rubbing. Yeah, Sydney. He's constantly rubbing
Caleb
up.
Heron, who's like a good comedian, you know, a pretty funny
He's
comedian.
constantly, his personality is, he's constantly rubbing up against this main leader of the RAs, this main antagonist. And that's another running gag. Mm-hmm. And then that also gets a payoff because he ends up talking to the protagonists during the phase where they can't lie. And then because they can't lie, they're telling him all these embarrassing, awful shit about themselves or what they've recently done.
It's like they're having this kind of faux bonding moment or something.
Yeah, this faux bonding moment. And he tells them his most embarrassing secret, that he likes to dress up as the Grinch in a diaper and suck helium out of a balloon. And then that actually comes back at the end where he shows up dressed as the Grinch in a diaper. So nothing's wasted. They could have just introduced that character for a few scenes and then forgot he existed towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But they don't do this.
Well, it's another example would be the butterfly, Lysander, who's voiced by Daniel Radcliffe of all people.
Which is hilarious.
So they introduced that as just kind of this quirk of Montgomery's character, that his best friend is this butterfly. Who has a pet butterfly? How ridiculous is that? And there's a few kind of jokes at the beginning that kind of exemplify his personality, using that as a tool to do that. And then it just keeps going, though, because when they get to the part where they swap bodies, he swaps with the butterfly. And the butterfly portrays him as an alpha, which is what he was trying to be to this girl that he likes. And now the girl's kind of obsessed with him because it was the personality of the butterfly that swapped with him. So he presents as an alpha.
Yeah. By the way, it's funny because the girl he has a crush on, she presents as a normal girl at the beginning, but we find out she's a total freak and she's into this, what she calls death folk music, where she has this guy hooked up to these machines where
it's a period pain simulator or whatever.
Yeah,
or
period pain,
something like
pregnancy pain stimulator where she sends electric shocks or something to him, puts him in pain so he screams, and she voice modulates those screams as music or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, she's into some real freaky shit. It's in the body switching thing. When he switched with Lysander is doing all these freaky things in his body, and that's when she sees he's a real freak, and she develops a thing for him.
Yeah, when he ate the shirt.
Yeah.
And then later on in the movie, he coughs it up. That's the type of gonzo humor I need more of in comedies.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah, this is great.
I had a lot of fun with this movie. Mm-hmm. I was is it a perfect movie? No, but...
No, this is a perfect
It was a lot of fun.
Comedy.
Yes. Yeah, and it is
if I went to the movie
self-aware.
theater to see this, I might be a little disappointed, but as a streaming movie, you just pop it on, it's already on your service. This is perfect.
And the best part about it is it's fully self-aware. It knows what it is. It doesn't try to put on airs at something. There's dialogue at the end. The character says, I'm in a low-budget streaming comedy. Yeah, really good. I enjoyed it. I was pleasantly very happy with this movie in ways that I unfortunately wasn't happy with last week's movie.
It actually kind of oddly makes me glad that we watched last week's movie just to contrast.
Right.
They're similar movies and they're both kind of gonzo comedy. They're both Hulu original comedies. They both came out just this year. So there's they have all these similarities, and then you have our disappointment for the last one, and this is a direct contrast to that.
Yeah. Again, I just think this was focused. This new one, everything delivers. I think the biggest problem with Never Change was a lack of focus. It was a lot of ideas that they put in, and a lot of those ideas just went nowhere or weren't satisfying. Never Change is a movie with ADD. It's the best way I can describe it.
But that really frustrating kind of ADD, where you meet somebody and you have ADD and they also have ADD, but they drive you nuts because they have too much ADD. It's like that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so that is Pizza Movie, and it's available on Hulu, and it's pretty great. So check it out. It's great for a free streaming movie, or not free, but free with your subscription. It's a nice little perk. That's it for this week, though. Next week, we're going to go from doing some low-budget streaming comedies to what might be one of the biggest budget movies of the year, and one of the most critically acclaimed so far movies of the year, with Project Hail Mary. So Project Hail Mary is on Amazon, or it will be on Amazon on July 3rd, which by the time this podcast is up, I think this podcast is going to be up on July 4th or 5th, so it will have already passed. So it should be up by then. But that's what we're going to be talking about next week. So if you want to watch Project Hail Mary, check that out on Amazon and talk about it with us. Watch along with us. I'm looking forward to that. That's next week. Until then, thank you everybody for listening. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will on those platforms. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our website, thetotalscreen.blogspot.com. If you go to our website and open up a container story for any of our podcast episodes and scroll down to the bottom paragraph, you'll find all the relevant links to our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed, all that stuff's there, including a link to our YouTube channel where you can find the entire backlog of our podcast as well as additional content. You can also subscribe to this podcast through your favorite podcast client of choice, like Apple Podcasts or Pocket Cast. I said podcast so many times. Thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.